So my plan originally with Mandragora, Whispers of the Witch Tree, was to do an entire LP series of this game, and I even put up a few videos up on it at the time it was released. But with my entire schedule and with more games coming out, Steam Next Fest happening, I just did not get a chance to sit down and actually do an LP series, and it was kind of holding me back from actually finishing the game. So I just went ahead and just went offline, entirely offline, and finished the game. And I just recently beat the game, and I have a lot of thoughts about it, and I really enjoyed the heck out of this game. And I can't wait to see what happens for the future of this game. So I'm going to talk about some of the pros and cons that I do have with Mandragora, Whispers of the Witch Tree. So I guess this is kind of like a post-game review. It's about the pros here. So I've always said from the moment I played this game and from the few videos I put on this game is that the art is incredible. The incredible character art. Anytime you look at an NPC and you have their beautiful hand-painted character artwork right there on the screen for you, is just so immaculate and beautiful. The foregrounds and the backgrounds are some of the best I've seen in a long time, and I really enjoyed the art of this game. So that really pushes the game forward, and it looks great on both Steam Deck and PC. Obviously it looks better on PC, and Steam Deck could be better if you wanted to push it more, but I think if you have a higher end looking PC, the visuals pop, and they're so crisp, they're so nice, and they're so awesome, and I really loved the art there. I also enjoyed the freedom of movement and the customization within this game as well. I talked a lot about fall damage and how I didn't really like it too much, but it requires you to engage with the mechanics that they're in, and so there's a lot of abilities that you do get within this game, some of which you don't really get until towards the end of the game, which I kind of wish that they kind of spaced out some of these abilities towards maybe the second and third acts. There's two abilities that you get towards the end later on in the game that I feel like could have been way better suited. At least one of them. Also liked a lot of the customization with that. You could really customize and build the class that you want. Even though you have a starting class within this game, you can actually go to any talent tree that you want to and customize it the way you want to. You can unspec and respec abilities as you fit. I did that maybe a couple times, and I'm probably going to do that as I go forward within this game to kind of experiment and see what I want to do with this game with the other classes, and to see what other abilities are out there, because you do see a lot of fun abilities from other characters that you do fight in this game. So I do enjoy that. I really enjoyed a lot of that in the combat. I love the amount of weapons variety that you had. I love the vendors that you encountered within the main hub of Witch Tree, a lot of which that contributed a lot to my build, and it had me really thinking about the build I was going for. And so I really stuck with the Vindicator class, kind of focusing a little bit on stamina, poise, and a little bit more on the astral side, and then later on dipping into the wild relic side with all the mana so I can get more mana. There's a good amount of voice acting with this game, a lot from your main characters and side characters, and so I enjoyed the amount of people that talked to us. So there's a lot of voice lines within this, especially when it comes to the story. I feel like this is a very interesting story that has an interesting twist towards the end, and kind of plays on what you perceive as good and what you perceive as evil as you go forward in the story. And so there is a definitive good and a definitive evil. It's not the most complex of stories, but there is an interesting twist, and I do like how everything plays out in the end, and it does set up something for the future. So I'm excited to see where the story goes afterwards. And also the last thing I want to talk about that's a major pro and something that helped me get through this game immensely, and I mentioned it in the last video I did, the last more LP focused video that is that the amount of accessibility when it comes to the difficulty of this game. And so you'll find that this game is pretty difficult on the outset, and enemies are pretty punishing. Some of the bosses are sponges, and you will find that the health will go down relatively low relative to yours, and they will hit you hard. But you can change that in the menu. You can reduce the enemy health, you can reduce the enemy attack damage, and you can reduce the amount of stamina per your swings or per your abilities that you are assigning towards them. So this is what helped me immensely through my entirety of the playthrough, and I really enjoy that. It's 3 sliders that you adjust as you go throughout the game, and I really love that you can adjust it as high or as low as you want to relative to the challenge that you're being presented. And I think that helped because it allowed me to get through the game. And so if I were to not able to do things like this, obviously I would power through it because I was enjoying this game anyway, but it would probably take me a lot longer, and that's maybe part of the reason why I didn't really do more of a full LP series. There's a lot of cuts, there's a lot of editing that goes involved with some of these videos because I died a lot. And so I didn't want to deal with a lot of that. So I wanted to just power through and just to see how much I could do. And so as you slide things up and down, you can kind of adjust it to the challenge relative to where you want to be. So I really enjoyed that kind of accessibility with this game. And I feel like more games need that kind of accessibility. There's always a conversation around Souls-likes and the genre, and should there be an easy mode or should there be something like that? And I've always been kind of in the middle ground with that. I've always enjoyed a good challenge. I've played through the Souls games, not all of them, but I played through enough of them to understand like the challenge of it, and I love the feeling of getting through a very hard challenge and that feeling of pride and accomplishment that you get with there. But I do understand that people who want to get into games like these want to, but they just don't feel like they have the ability or skill necessary to do so. But with things like this accessibility slider, you can make it accessible for pretty much everybody. And I know not all games need to have that, or nor do I want games to have all of that, but when devs put that in, I think it's a great choice because, like I said before, enemy health and damage was a lot, and that was kind of a con on the outset with this game. But I think the accessibility really fixed that for me, and it really helped me kind of make that more of a nitpick on the outset. But you will notice, if you don't change anything, the default settings will make enemies hit pretty hard and make your health go down pretty quickly. But again, you can adjust that as you power up, as you gain more levels, as you get better at the game with dodging, with jumping, with all of your other abilities. If you use a shield, using shields like that, so it will help. So you can get better, you can skill up, you can get good, so to speak, but that will be present throughout the game. But again, it may be a skill issue on some issues, it may be more of a damage scaling issue on some others. So it's just, I do like that you have a lot of things available to you for that. But it's still a con. It was still a little bit of a con, still a little bit of a nitpick for me and all that. But a more of a bigger con for me was a repetitive boss designs. You'll see that you'll have the same amount of enemies. There's actually an achievement when you defeat those types of enemies, but a lot of them are just reskins of the same type of enemy with the same type of attack pattern. So I really wish that some of these bosses, even though they were kind of reskinned, kind of varied up their attack patterns. So once you understand the attack patterns of some of these, you kind of understand all of them. And so once you get through them all, you kind of get it, and then you just go on from there. So there's no really mix of some of the more elite bosses. Some of the major bosses, yeah, they had to vary up their attacks because they were actual different types of bosses, but some of the more reskinned bosses didn't really have a change of attack patterns. And also, like I said before, the voice acting was good, but I felt like my main character spoke a lot less as the story went on and was reduced to more of the dialogue prompts. So I don't know what happened there. I don't know why I spoke less and less, but I do feel like my character was more active in the beginning of the game with speaking, and then didn't speak as much. You can hear he or she speak as you play throughout the game when they do make like certain comments, if you fall too hard, or if something just happens randomly. But their contribution in terms of dialogue throughout the story is like pretty minimal, especially when they are a major player in these major stories. And I will mention one thing, this is a kind of a nitpick, but I think Mandragora's voice kind of had some weird mixing issues. If you know, you know. So Mandragora speaks to you throughout the entirety of the game, but there's a point when Mandragora's voice changes and she just sounds a lot more different than I would have expected her to do. So it's just kind of a weird mixing within that. So yeah, again, minor nitpick on that one. And also would say that the final boss was not as interesting as I thought it was going to be. There are a couple of phases within this boss, and the final boss kind of ropes in a mechanic that you have been dealing with throughout the game, but it's just something that I just did not expect, and kind of goes into, I want to say, more bullet hell instead of a traditional boss fight. So you kind of have to stand in one place, avoid a bunch of bullets while you're having to essentially heal somebody as they're trying to do something. And again, I'm not trying to spoil anything. I know the game has been out for a while. I'm sure people have seen the end of the game, but for me personally, I don't always want to spoil people, even if a game has been out for a while. But again, the final boss wasn't as interesting as I thought it was to be relative to some of the other bosses. Like there was a dragon boss I thought was way more interesting than in this boss. There was a boss before the final boss that I thought was more interesting than the final boss. So just kind of a nitpick there. You really want your final boss to be like a culmination of everything that you've done up to that point, kind of the final exam of the game. And so I just didn't feel that for me specifically. But the final boss was fine, but it just wasn't, it didn't pop in the way I thought it was gonna pop. There was a con related to Witch Tree in which you had to basically run all the way from Ursa, who is the jeweler, all the way to Reese to the enchanter. But with the game's most recent update, there was a portal that was added in that you can go in that will go from Ursa to Reese. So that's a great addition. And that kind of leads me into where the game has updated and where the game is doing right now. So fall damage was reduced. And so you notice that I didn't mention fall damage at all because fall damage has been reduced by a lot. People, including myself, felt like fall damage was a lot in this game. It was a little bit too much at times, but they did reduce the amount of fall damage that was there. Again, fall damage is still there. I'm not the biggest fan of fall damage personally, but I can really appreciate the devs when they make a change like that. Stamina doesn't deplete in safe zones, which is nice because I felt that was kind of unnecessary. Like if you're in a safe zone, why does my stamina deplete during that? I can understand while I'm out in the field, but not in the safe zone. There's also some balance changes, and you can see, I'm going to link the full patch notes in the description if you want to see all of that. Added some new areas to explore, more content, and New Game Plus will be on its way at some point. And so I'm so glad that I did finish the game. So I'm going to do a bunch of cleanup within the game so I can get ready for that New Game Plus when it drops. So overall, I really enjoyed Mandragora Whispers of the Witch Tree. I thought this was a really fun Souls-like game with Metroidvania elements. This is probably gonna be one of my favorite games of the year. Whenever I put up my full list of my top 10 favorite games, I feel like this one is gonna be up there, at least right now, unless a game like this kind of blows me out of the water. But I really feel like this is gonna be on that list because one, the art really sells this game so hard. I really enjoyed the art of this game so much and I thought it was great. And I'm gonna be doing more in the background, going to be playing it more, kind of doing some cleanup, like I said, kind of finishing off some side quests and just kind of experiment with more of what the classes have to offer. And whenever a major update happens on this game, I will talk about it on this channel. So yeah, if a major update comes out, I will talk about it on the channel, maybe even show it off in some respects, and maybe not do a full LP series like I thought I was gonna do. But again, it's a very good game. I would love to know your thoughts on Mandragora Whispers of the Witch Tree. Did you finish this game? Did you even pick it up? Did you try the demo? Did you do anything with this game? Did you enjoy some of the content that I put out on this game? I would love to know an answer for any of these questions in the comments below. And again, I will put a link to the description for this game so you can see all of the patch notes or anything that happens with Mandragora Whispers of the Witch Tree. Again, shout out to the devs for sending me a key on this one, and I love this game so much that I can't wait to play more. And if you want to see some of the videos that I've done already on that, I will put those up as this video closes out. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Chike, and I will see you on the next one. Peace out.